like 6 camera people. The publicist
Right.
is in the room. Their people are in the room. And if not, they're watching from an adjacent room. And trust me, they communicate very quickly if you overstep boundaries or you say something that you shouldn't. They're like, okay, we're not going to talk about that. And if the celebrity doesn't say it, somebody will say it for them.
Yeah.
There was no mention of this. And it's so funny because it was such a silly thing. And it was actually like funny. Like it made them really personable and funny. And so I was like, why are they reacting like this? But to me, what was so upsetting to me, first, like as a woman and as a reporter, as a professional, is that to do that in my world, on the press line that I stand in with my coworkers, right, and with my peers, made me look like a chump. And you had to publicly like crucify me like that. Like, who would ever treat another woman? Who would ever treat another person like that? And that's the piece that I didn't like. Like, I'm standing here in a press line with my peers, with my coworkers, and you're going to publicly shame me about that. That's the piece I didn't like. I get it. If you don't want to do the interview, you could say, you know what? They're going to pass, right? But instead of saying they're going to pass, they had to physically see us put down a camera. That piece is like, that's nasty.
You're going to have to tell me who this is off air. No, honestly, off the record, like really, the one thing off the record, I mean, the things I hear off the record really is off the record.
When I tell you who it is.
I'm so intrigued. No, I honestly, like I never repeat. I mean, I hear, do you, because you mentioned Housewives, I mentioned Sutton, like, are you into Housewives?
Are you kidding?
I mean, I don't know.
Can you invite me back just to talk about Housewives? Yes.
You probably thought you were just going to talk about Housewives here. But trust me, you could come on as much as you want to talk about Housewives.
I am obsessed with I live in the Bravo universe. I mean, I live in all reality TV, like the grittier and like lowbrow it is, the better.
Like
90 Day Fiance.
Do you like MILF Manor? I didn't watch it. I was going to watch it.
I have a son, so maybe I would have watched it if I wasn't a mom. But now that I'm a mom, like that's really fucking weird.
Well, I don't think anyone really watched it. I think the ratings were pretty bad.
Really? Okay, good. So it's off the air now.
Yeah, I don't think it's coming back.
So no, but I will watch like all the weird TLC. Like I will watch all the weird TLC shows. I don't watch a lot of like Naked and Afraid. Like I won't watch those kinds of shows.
Yeah, those I didn't.
Yeah, but Love Island, like all of that stuff. But
all of it.
Housewives is obviously like, to me, I will watch almost every franchise, and then I love Vanderpump Rules.
So I mean,
by the way, I love Vanderpump Rules. I didn't need Scandoval to be a fan. I fly my Vanderpump Rules flag all the time.
I mean, I have gone on record. I mean, I think seasons 8 and 9 were not good. The past two,
but you still watched every episode.
Well, listen, I've said before, it is to me the best show that's ever existed on Bravo, by far.
Okay,
it had two bad. Why?
Tell me why.
Because
do you know why? I know why.
Well, I believe why is because it's real. Like, you couldn't make this stuff up. Like, you have this guy, Jax, and he's dating this girl. They are the first couple of reality TV. And then out of you have some other affairs and you cheat, but out of everyone, you sleep with this girl, Kristen, who happens to be your good friend, Tom's girlfriend, and she's also really good friends with Stassi. That just sets the scene. And then you have this new kid out of nowhere, James Kennedy. He could date anyone he wants. Anyone. And he's now dating Kristen, who used to date Tom. It's like it never ended. It was the gift that just kept going and going and going, and it got more intertwined. And then you have Lala with Randall and another. It's like you couldn't make, and it really was real. It wasn't like they were trying to be fake with any of this.
Well, I think you 100% touched on what makes it so watchable and so entertaining. And the thing that they all have in common that was very different at the time when it premiered was that those kids, because they were kids at the time, had nothing to lose. And when you come to set or to your show with nothing to lose, what you get is fire. And that's what we got for many, many seasons. That's what we used to get with Housewives. Remember how crazy they were?
Yeah.
Now they all have brands to protect. They all want to build a brand. So they see it as a platform. Whereas Vanderpump was more like real world style. Like these kids had nothing to lose. What were they going to lose? Their like studio apartment in North Hollywood? Like what, you know what I'm saying? Their job
they didn't
at
understand a brand. Like they really came in with no objective.
It was like the wild, wild west of reality TV when that show launched. And they were able to maintain that for a long time. It
Yes.
started, I think, what you were saying, like in seasons 8 and 9.
Like when they brought in like Max and Brett and like
it was,
the whole.
and then and the second that Tom and Tom became investors in Tom, then you started to see that shift, and you're like, okay, now they have something to lose, right?
Yeah.
Then they are curbing that crazy a little bit too much, and it's not as entertaining.
Yeah.
Clearly, Tom did not curb his crazy because here we are with Scandoval. But to me, that is the magic of Vanderpump, is that those
So
kids had
good.
nothing to lose, and it was amazing to watch. Like as a viewer and as a fan of reality TV, like I'm taking a writing class at UCLA, and I was, working on a spec script for Emily in Paris. And I sent a note to my professor, and it was the weekend that Scandoval happened. And I was under deadline, under pressure, and I just like wasn't able to write well. And I was like, listen, I'm like really stressed. And I said, and by the way, I don't know if you watch Vanderpump Rules, but I just want you to know that I could take this class, ace it, go on to win an Oscar. I will never write a script that is better than what is happening on TV right now when it comes to Vanderpump Rules. And he wrote me back, and he said, I don't know what Vanderpump Rules is, but I'm intrigued. Class just ended. He went back and watched, and he was like, I think you might be right. You cannot write a better show. Like, we talk about setup, build, and payoff as a writer. Like, that's what you work towards. There's no better setup, build, and payoff than
And
this.
this season was good even before this, but now it's like, I mean, where are you on this whole... Why? Like, why is it this big? Like, it's big, I guess. I mean, I'm actually not as outraged as the rest of the world. But I've done my own analysis as to why.
It ebbs and flows for me in terms of outrage. First and foremost, I want to say that the hate that Rachel is getting versus the hate that Tom is getting is completely like one-sided.
I've talked about this.
You have? Okay.
Why do you think that it's just misogyny?
It's misogyny. It's misogyny. That's, by the way, this happens. This doesn't just happen in their affair. This happens all the time. There's always so much hate put on the woman, and then the man just kind of walks away, right? He can kind of fade away. That's not okay. And I hate seeing other women go after her, especially her castmates, so hard. And then they're not bringing the same vitriol to Tom. I don't get it. Or they say that they are, but they're really not. So that in itself, they are both guilty parties. It takes two to tango.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. So that's one thing that I have to say, because I do feel like all of that anger and hate is directed at Rachel, as it should be, but it should equally be directed to Tom. I'm not sure why it caught everyone's attention. I mean, the New York Times wrote a piece.
I know.
When Vanderpump Rules makes the New York... I pitched it as a story to ABC News, and they actually were like, you know what? Maybe. I got a maybe because the New York Times had covered it. I would have never gotten a maybe 6 months ago. There's no way. I think everyone's been cheated on. I think everyone has dealt with betrayal. It's all very relatable. And, whether it's betrayal on that level, so it's something that we can all relate to. And I think that I know how powerful the Bravo universe is. I know the fandom of that world, but I think the rest of the world that doesn't live in this space with us maybe isn't as vocal about it. Like, it brought to light, like, even if you're just like touching on it, you're still really invested in this.